to begin demonstration. Activate green button. Okay. Now you're probably asking, what could the galaxy's leader in sophisticated consumer technology possibly do for me? Well, how would you like to travel anywhere, anytime, at the touch of a button? Science fiction? Science fact.
Now, dear friends, you're probably asking, what could the galaxy's leader in sophisticated technology possibly do for me? Well, how would you like to travel anywhere, anytime, at the touch of a button? Science fiction? No.
Welcome to DisneySpace, reimagining spaces in Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and spaces beyond. And now, your host, Jeff and Mark. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and wherever you are, thank you for joining the DisneySpace podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mark. Mark, good evening. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Mark, I'm doing fantastic, extraordinary, and exceptional, and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
So here we are, just hours away from Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. It's tomorrow's Friday, October 1st, and is it really I think there's like some conflicting information. It's the 50th anniversary of when the Magic Kingdom opened, correct?
I think so, yes. October 1st. Of course, the preview center was open before that, and there were guest invitations to see parts of the park. And I'm not sure if golf was open yet or not. I know the hotels were open either the same day or the next day.
Yeah, I do know that it was Contemporary, Polynesian, and Fort Wilderness were ready and opened.
Yeah,
they were still
but the Magic Kingdom was open on October 1st in the morning. So that's considered what some call the quinquagenary or the semi-centennial.
Quinquagenary?
The golden jubilee of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, 50 years. And we're just and what I saw on Twitter today I thought was interesting was we're only 16 years out from Disneyland's 50th anniversary. So now for most of both parks' lives, both parks have existed.
Yeah, they're both old now.
Yeah.
They both have some age. You know, in the introduction performance of Epcot, when Danny Kaye was doing his dancing and tapping.
That's right. The melodic song he was singing.
Yeah. He was really expressing how all of Walt Disney World is Epcot, and that the Epcot Center is Epcot Center in the center of Epcot. So we can consider this to be the 50th anniversary of Epcot as well.
That's really true when you consider that it was part of Walt's original dream. And, the Disney nerds will get on top of themselves. You're not following Epcot's original vision. Epcot's original vision isn't even Epcot's original vision. It's it's like a game of a slap up or something where everyone's trying to trump each other on who's got the right insight. To me, I just want to see a nice Figment attraction, and we got to talk about that eventually.
Sure, yeah. There's been a lot of things that have been introduced into the parks for the 50th anniversary. Some of the things include the golden statues, the beacons of light, some new attractions, new shops, new merch. What are some of your favorites? What things really click with you?
Well, I was out at Hollywood Studios last Sunday. I tried to do the rope drop procedure for Rise of the Resistance now that it uses a standby only queue and not the boarding pass system. And that was kind of a bust for us, by the way. But the first thing that stuck out to me as part of the 50th celebration, this is going to sound silly, was the merchandise bags. As part of a cost-saving measure, I want to say sometime in the last 2 decades, they went from unique Walt Disney World gift bags to just Disney parks. So I guess they can save a few cents a bag on bulk orderings for both Disneyland and Disney World. And that's just one of the things that you may not explicitly notice, but somewhere in the back of your brain, you do. And
Yeah.
we were walking through the park the other day, and my wife and I both noticed, hey, look at the merch bag for the 50th. That's really pretty. And I really do like the designs of everything they're doing for the 50th. Going back to your point on those statues, those are very impressive sculptures. They look like they're going to
Yes.
be there for a while. And I saw the one for Frozone from The Incredibles, and for me and my nephews, we love Frozone. We always quote the bit from his movie, where is my super suit? My nephews live in the house that I grew up in, and it's a 2-story house, and you cannot hear anyone on the first floor when you're on the second floor, or vice versa. So there's a particular kind of cadence that we have in our family when you're shouting up the stair. You're speaking forcefully, but you're not yelling at the person. So you want to add like a sweetness to your voice. And there's an element of that in that scene where he's like, "Where is my super suit?" That's why that always rings so much. And so we got a bunch of great pictures in front of Frozone's statue as we headed out of the park at Hollywood, and then just went over to the Springs and ate Earl a sandwich and went home. So that was kind of a bust of a day. It was still fun.
Yeah, I admit that I was really skeptical of these statues at first because they didn't seem to me to match the characters of the parks. But once they came out and I saw them, they're very ornate. They're very good. These artists really spent some time with them, and you can do a lot with. I guess they're made of bronze and painted with gold or
Yeah,
something like that.
they are
That's
impressive. They photograph well. They're fun to take selfies with in front of, or sloffies if you want.
yeah.
Uh,
So I no longer really care like what belongs in what park. I'm kind of into them now. They're very just the art alone was very impressive. My favorite was the Joe Gardner statue in Hollywood Studios, the pianist from the Soul
yeah, I
movie.
need to. I've seen pictures of that statue. I didn't see it in person, but the way they have the keyboard that's kind of floating in air is very
Yeah.
imaginative.
Yeah, if you look down to the bench that he's sitting on, the it's very ornate, the legs. And when down near the bottom, some of the diameters of those legs are very thin. So there's just an incredible balance in that statue. That's just as a structure, it's amazing.
I've made it
So
a determination. I'm going to take a day and see how long it takes to go find all 50 characters and just take pictures of them. And that's what we're doing that day, is just going and hunting, and like a scavenger hunt or a photo hunt, trying to
yeah.
find them all in one day. One other thing
Mhm.
about that is, I think they're the people inside Disney and Imagineering. They kind of know what they're doing with those statues versus other offerings. I've noticed there's a blind buy pin bag for Disney characters that's celebrating the 50th. When you open up those pins, you get a Big Owl from Country Bear Jamboree. There's an Orange Bird. There's Smart One. There's Figment. Those are the characters that I think a lot of the purist and park focused people, I think they really wanted the bronze statues to represent characters. Let's say Rex from Star Tours, not BB-8. I think
Yes.
that's the mindset that the hardcore parks fans have, and I think
I can understand they're trying to promote their brands though.
it's
It's understandable.
it's Bob Iger 101. It's the parks serve to promote the movies. The movies serve to promote the parks. They should be in synchronicity. It makes sense. It's modern business. I do get it. But I feel like with that, like I said, with that pin offering, with some of the other merchandise items, a lot of the prevalence with the orange bird lately, I think there's an acknowledgement that, yeah, if this was more of a commemorating our history, it would be more focused on that. But and also, this is a lot of behind the scenes stuff we never know. It's certain things of like, who pays for that. I want to use
Yeah.
this as an example. When the show Loki was airing new episodes every week, there was a different meet and greet version of Loki at the Avengers campus in DCA. One week he's the President Loki. The week before he's wearing the orange jumpsuit. Uh, all that was promotionally done from the studios. And so that doesn't come out of the parks budget, it doesn't come out of the operations budget. So you get special fun things like that. And it's a different division that's paying for it, and they get it as an advertising write off. And there's all sorts of business red tape behind all that. I'm all for it. I say more is always better. It's sometimes though we want so much, and there's only so much certain groups are willing to pay for. Just like the reality of the broken Yeti in Everest. That
Yeah.
ride is so important to the park that we can't take it down for the 9 months it would take to completely rebuild it. But
Yeah. My guess with the statues was that it was a project for Imagineers to do during their lockdown. I would imagine that somebody dropped loads of clay on their driveway. They brought them into their living rooms and they sat there for, how many ever weeks they were in their houses and just crafted. Somebody came and picked them up and sent them to the foundry.
and they really are impressive in person. So
Yeah, even the BB-8. When I think of just the BB-8, I'm thinking, why is it there? It's not part of Disney Parks history. It kind of is a little bit if you think of the Rise of the Resistance, maybe. But just if you look at the statue alone, they could have just made it the round blob and be done with it. But they did it with his little arm sticking out and the flame
yeah,
shooting
his
out.
little
I thought that was
articulated
just
robot
brilliant.
arm, yeah.
Yeah, and it shows the detail of their craft work. It's amazing.
I'm going to say one thing about BB-8. When you go through the pre-show and then Ray speaks to you in the hologram, and that's an impressive effect. When you wait there, he kind of rolls out, he interacts with you, and then he rolls away, and then he'll interact with the hologram. Every time he comes out, that audience, that group of people will go, "Oh, BB-8!" So that is a character that resonates.
Yeah.
I always look to see what characters are people excited for, what characters people don't care for. The Monsters Inc. characters, Mike and Sully, people go nuts when they see them. Lotso, the bear from Toy Story 3, people love that character. It might be just the large designs, the fluffiness. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
I always like to keep track of what are the characters that people always respond to.
Right. I think the biggest shock of the 50th anniversary, shock and awe, would be Spaceship Earth and the whole entrance plaza. I think they did such a marvelous job on that. If there's anything that harkens back to the real core Epcot fanboy, as you might say, they really hit a home run with that in every respect.
What I want to say in regards to that is the colors and the patterns that it's exhibiting really take you back to those old Epcot logos and commercials and
Sure.
like the original posters,
Shopping bags,
and the shop, like you said, the shopping bags. It's actually Spaceship Earth now becomes at night that beacon of light that it was always represented as. And I remember a lot of people were a little bristly at the idea of all those puck lights on it. I remember the first time I was under Spaceship Earth and I got a close up look at those lights. I didn't find them to be too intrusive in the daytime, but now it's been proven as a home run, and they needed a win, definitely, especially in that park.
Now, when I look at old photos of Spaceship Earth, which is, this year in January, when I look at the little intersections of the Lucabon panels and I see the little black empty spaces, I kind of think to myself, they're empty. It's incomplete. Where's the little lights now?
Oh, that's kind of weird to think about.
Future impression. Yeah. And I can tell you as a product engineer, I design products for the entertainment industry. I deal with LED design a lot, and I'm really fascinated how they accomplish this. And I'm thinking somewhere on some engineer's desk is a little development kit of Spaceship Earth and a software API that is totally custom for achieving this. And when they built it to scale, it works. And then I think they can do a lot with it in the future too, just having it there. They've done some things to try it out, get some first impressions, but I think they're going to keep tailoring it, and it's just going to be really, really glamorous for years to come. I hope they never get rid of it.
I don't know what particular insight you have into those lights, but do you suspect that they're physically networked? Are they wireless? Is it like a Bluetooth? How are they connected?
They probably have their own controller per box, and then they cable over to some master controller that coordinates them. And then that is all probably USB connected to somebody's laptop. So you can think now of Spaceship Earth as being a USB device.
That's really funny.
Isn't that amazing? And then so yeah, they probably everything's custom. Any controller would be customized, and they're programmable. So you set a set of programs in there, and you may you may have some sort of control with that. Just that links up with Harmonious, or just links up with Darkness or something like that, with other light effects that are going on around Epcot, and they coordinate with each other, and you probably take the laptop away and it'll work on its own. Come back and reprogram it. All this stuff used to be, in theory, in the little spare UNIVAC central computer control of Communicore. They claimed that a lot of the control systems around Epcot were centralized in that little computer center. I'm not sure if that was really true or not, but they sure gave that impression. Even like the doors that opened in some of the rides, and the animatronic controls themselves. So it's a little bit of that, just at a modern scale.
It's really.
You could probably take that spare UNIVAC control center, and it's probably
Put down on a flash drive and
yes, 1/100th of your last year's iPhone.
That's so funny to think
power.
about, all of that processing power. And that's that's kind of segue into what we're going to discuss tonight, as we're ready to reimagine another DisneySpace.
Yes.
So
we're going to look at the Mission Space.
Not Mission Space.
The Mission to Mars building in Tomorrowland of the Magic Kingdom, which is really kind of a convoluted building. When you look into the architectural plans of it, there's a lot of things going on in that building.
Well, first I want to ask you, can you think of any other space within the Disney parks that's been more different attractions?
Maybe across the pathway from it, where the Monsters Inc. show is. There's been a lot of Circle Vision shows there when it was a Circle Vision theater.
And then it became the Timekeeper. That was the last Circle Vision show.
Right, which I think it went through a couple names. Maybe it was the same show. And then it was the Monsters Incorporated Laugh Floor. And it could be something else in the future. So that's sort of a flexible space.
But this space in particular, so let's go through its history. When the park opened in 1971, we had landed on the moon 2 years prior, 1969. But it was still Earth to the Moon.
It was Flight to the Moon.
It was a copy of the same Disneyland attraction,
which was Rocket to the Moon in Disneyland.
But was it otherwise the same experience? Was it different audio? I don't know much about that history.
Pretty much the same. They did change the show when they went to Mars.
That's what I remember. I do remember going on that Mars mission many times as a kid.
Yeah, the pre-show for both experiences were similar. I can't remember how many theaters they had in Disneyland, if they had one or two. Because Magic Kingdom has two.
Magic Kingdom always, it seems that especially all that early stuff, they just doubled everything. Make 2 Mr. Toads, make 2 theaters for this, make 2. If I'm looking at it on Google Maps, it does look like, we have the 2 different theaters in ours. I don't know about, and the one in Disneyland, is that now the Buzz Lightyear?
Pizza Planet.
Or it's Pizza Planet. Okay.
Yeah. And they still have the original TWA rocket outside, but now it's painted Pizza Planet. But that was the idea, is that it was very early in the space age. The Walt Disney Studios actually produced an animated film about adventures in space. I think Ward Kimball was involved with that. And so
I met him once in the early 80s at the Walt Disney World Railroad.
Nice. So I considered it when I was a kid. I wrote it when I was a kid. I considered it a ride because it was a rocket capsule that an entire audience could fit inside, and you could see out the bottom and see up the top, just like the Space 22 space elevator today. Same idea. You look down and you see the launch pad, and the seats were connected to all these servos and shock absorbers and whatnot, and you could feel the rumble of the launch and the landing and all that.
And then so
it was very convincing to a little kid.
There's a connective tissue there from that space to in what was it,
Mission Space.
86 when the Living Seas opened? Because I know that wasn't they didn't
Correct.
open Epcot with that, and they had the hydrolators. And I heard recently the Space 220 experience with the space elevator sort of harkens back to the hydrolator experience as well. So Disney's always been very good at these. I don't want to call them fake rides, but they simulate motion. They simulate the experience of a traveling of great distances, and
Right.
that's what.
And I think it's kind of a C or B ticket type of experience. It's something that not everybody took their time to come to this attraction. It was kind of out of the way. The queue line was a little bit concealed originally. They had cast members out there pulling people
You are
through it.
hitting on all of the points that I want to address as part of my pitch. This is fantastic.
Oh,
So yeah,
good.
you just mentioned you I'm gonna wait for I to actually do my pitch because I want to nail this. But uh, and this goes back to another point I wanted to make real quick is Disney always uses the term attractions, and for a lot of people, it's just the rides. Give me the biggest e-ticket rides you got, and I'm just
Yes.
going to do those over and over because I'm paying a ton of money to be here. Um, like I saw, like the other day, I saw someone mention they're bringing back the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular at Hollywood, and they were like, "Yeah, that's great, but why can't we have an Indiana Jones ride?" I love that Indiana Jones stunt show like you wouldn't believe. I could, every time I go to that park, I would sit and watch it, and every time I love it. And I think it's just amazing example of stunt choreography, great effects, and it's just a fun way to sit and relax. But for some people, a lot of park goers, if it's not moving their butts, they don't care.
Yeah.
And,
And
and I wonder how those people feel about these kind of rides, or even it's the ever question: is Carousel of Progress a ride? I say Carousel of
it's Mission
Progress is
Space.
Mission Space is definitely a ride. It's a flipping centrifuge. That's it's actually doing something to you. But I like how Disney kind of just uses the general term attractions. Hey, just come check it out.
I do too.
And I
Yes.
think
And that's what we should be using that term as well.
we tend to, but I also like that we're kind of casual on the show as well. But for lack of a better term, they're all what is it? All blimps are dirigibles, but not all dirigibles are blimps. All rides are attractions, not all attractions are rides.
Yeah, that makes sense. It is a configurable space, so it's very easy to transform into other experiences, and that's been done, of course, with the alien encounter and the Stitch's Great Escape.
So you just
So
mentioned the other two problem children that have occupied this space. You had the extraterrestrial alien encounter, and then it was retooled in what 2002 as Stitch's Great Escape.
yeah, I think in response to the really strong popularity of the Stitch franchise, those movies were quite popular with the young ones.
I
So Disney
remember
was very eager
I
to
was in
make
college
attractions.
when the first Stitch movie came out, and we all went to see it, and I thought it was great. I thought it was hilarious, very subversive, not what you would typically expect. Although I think now a lot of people kind of break up Disney animation into several epochs, and my wife and I were talking about the Renaissance era, and when does the Renaissance stop, and then what's the next era? And I really think it's Tarzan would probably be the end of the Renaissance era, and everything after that sort of like a weird in between end of traditional animation era. But when they were doing things like Stitch and Emperor's New Groove, I thought they were really putting themselves out there and breaking from the formula in a fun way. And I think that's what we need to
Yeah,
do on this show as well.
yeah, it makes it great, makes it fun. One of the tests that I like to perform when I'm coming up with ideas for this is I live in the North Atlanta area, and so it takes me 9 hours to drive to
Mm-hmm.
Orlando. When I think of these things, what would make me drive 9 hours to go experience it? If it's worthwhile to do that, then it's a good
Let me ask you
idea.
a question. Name one attraction that you said that was worth the drive, and one that was not worth the drive
Of the new
of
attractions.
anything that's opened, and you did get in the car and said, I got to go down and see this.
Well, of course, all of Epcot when it opened
Sure,
to me was well worth the
everything was an
drive.
e-ticket.
Yeah, and honestly, Stitch's Great Escape, I thought, and the Alien Terrorist. I can barely say that.
It's so weird. I remember it
Terrorrestrial.
on the posters. Alien,
Yeah,
terrestrial, and
they made it so curious to me that that was worth seeing what that was all about. The Journey into Your Imagination, not
no.
worth it. That is going to be on our Disney Space
Gas
list
up the
soon.
bulldozer. Mark is ready to tackle that one. Well, I'm ready to dig into this, and I'm excited. I'm looking at Google Maps, an aerial view of the Magic Kingdom, and I want you to, if you can, pull it up. Go to Google Maps, type in Partner Statue MK or wherever, however you want to get there. And if you look at it from the sky, they've updated their map so you can see there's the new redesigned hub. I watched a video recently. It was a Disney travel video from 1991, and it just the amount of trees in the hub center and how actually obscured the castle was from Main Street. I
Right.
felt very nostalgic for that, but I really like the new fireworks viewing areas with the what would you call the AstroTurf grass you can sit on, and there's no bugs, and
Right. It's sort of a promenade area now.
it works. It totally works. It's a lot easier to use the hub to cut through the park than it ever used to be. I'll say that as part of that
Sure.
redesign. But let's take a trip back to 1995. And you're a family of 4. You've got a couple of kids that are excited. It's their first time they're going to the Magic Kingdom. They've never been to a Disney park before. You got the smell of popcorn. You've got the smell of the ice cream parlor. You're walking towards the partner statue. And Dad pulls out the map and says, well, let's go over to Tomorrowland, because what is it? 70 to 80% of the population is right-handed. And so the natural inclination is to turn right. And as you walk across the bridge, I think it was Tomorrowland had a big redesign in the mid 90s.
Right.
They had that new entrance sign that's now been replaced with what's affectionately called the cup holder. I actually think that sign is neat. It's really fun to stand under it at late night. But I get what people are saying. But as part of that retro futuristic design of the mid 90s Tomorrowland, which I thought was a win, I liked it. You walk down, and what is the first attraction this family of 4 is going to encounter? Well, it's an alien encounter. Oh, well, let's go inside, kids. Doesn't look like too long of a wait because it's not very popular. And Mom and Dad are too busy making sure everyone's covered in suntan lotion and hydrated, that they're not reading all of the warning signs on the wall that talk about how this is an intense experience and not your typical Magic Kingdom attraction. It was very atypical for that park. You get the entrance video, and what was it? Chairman Clench would talk about, oh, you're gonna come meet me, and then you go to the next room, and there was the animatronic Sir, originally voiced by Phil Hartman, and they re-recorded it with Tim Curry just so people might pick up the fact that, guys, this is gonna be a little scary. And it's actually fun to go on YouTube and look at the 2 different versions of the video, because if you're not paying attention and you see the Phil Hartman one, he does that classic hello and welcome, and you're going to be experiencing this. And the Tim Curry one is just like, yes, hello, and we have teleportation and we use it for evil purposes. And
I have a homework assignment for you.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is pull up Sir, the animation, that robot in action.
Mm-hmm.
Watch him speak, watch all of his maneuvers, look at the bicycle helmet that he's wearing on his head. And then go look at Hondo in Galaxy's Edge at the Millennium Falcon's smuggler's
You think they
run.
repurposed him?
I don't know.
I always liked his
They look similar to me.
laser eyes.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was funny in the Stitch version. It was Richard Kind who did the voice for the robot, and to kind of doofy him up a little bit, they make him look like a prison guard, but they kind of make it look like he's a chubby robot. Like who would design that? Like, why do you have to?
Sort of, yeah. He had that Stitch animated sort of shape.
He
to
did.
him,
He did. He
like
had kind of a
alien security guard type of.
roundness there.
Yeah.
But now imagine again this imaginary family that I'm talking about in the mid 90s. That's again their first Disney attraction ever. They're not paying attention. They're not really soaking it all in. And the next thing you know, we're locking them in chairs and turning the lights off and having snarling monster noises, sensations. What's the little air shooters on your feet, everything to
saliva.
So guess what happens to those little kids that just went on that attraction?
I want to see the rest of Tomorrowland.
Screaming, the gnashing of teeth, and no, Mom, I don't want to be here. I don't want to go on no more rides. I had no idea that this is what it's going to be like. Oh, come on, kids. We're going to go do the People Mover. We're going to do Winnie the Pooh or Snow White. No way you're going to get me on any of those now. And I've heard countless tales of people's trips that were ruined by this legendary attraction. Now, again, I would often say, did you not see the signs? Did you not see the warnings? No, we didn't see it. You didn't notice
Nobody reads signs.
Nobody reads signs in a theme park. So the attraction has a giant magnet on it. It's just a big old, hey, come in here. It's just your natural inclination to be your first thing. But you were right. It's a weird design. Where's the entrance? Wait, it's not in the front. It's on the, wait, it's over here. Okay. Now we're going inside. So now I'm ready for my pitch. This space needs to be, I'm not repurposing these theaters. I'm bulldozing everything I can. And if you're telling me, Jeff, we still have to keep Star Traders. You got to keep Anti-Gravity's Galactic Goodies. You've got to keep Cosmic Ray Starlight Cafe. That's fine.
Got to keep the People Mover.
You got to keep the People Mover. I'm not touching that at all. And in fact, I want to work in conjunction with Mr. People Mover. We need to turn this into the Tomorrowland attraction. And so I want to work conceptually about what Tomorrowland is and what Tomorrowland can be. Now, Tomorrowland's always had a sort of interesting place in the parks, especially since Future World was brought online in Epcot. Now, I think it was Tony Baxter who said that, what is the line? Tomorrowland is the real made fantasy and Future World is fantasy made real, or something. It's something like that. I should have looked at.
Sounds reasonable.
But it's something like that. There's an inverse design philosophy towards Tomorrowland and Future World, if you catch my meaning there.
Yeah, one's fun,
one's sci-fi, one's science.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
a great way to put it.
Would Isaac Asimov say that's ridiculous, or was it more Lucas and Gene Roddenberry? So here's my pitch. Here is the name of the attraction is, in quotes, "Welcome to Tomorrowland." We're going to make all our Epcot fanboy friends completely happy because we're using the Horizons ride system. We're going to build a giant 2-story people eater that can just take on that initial guest and put them in the lightest, most relaxing, calm first attraction you've ever been on. So you walk down that Tomorrowland bridge, you go under the cup holder, you underneath where it says Tomorrowland and the People Mover, that's where we're going to build the entrance. Now, one of the things I liked about the alien encounter is the space that it was occupying in its own story was supposed to be a convention center in Tomorrowland. The aliens from...
Correct.
What was the Director Clinch and those aliens from XS Tech? They had a homeworld. I can't remember the name of it. But
right, they're showing us all their new
they're
product
showing
line.
us their product line. So they've cleared out of this space, and now it's just being used as the Tomorrowland Welcome Center. And Tomorrowland, conceptually in this story, is in the Magic Kingdom. We are now in the future. I don't care when, someday AD, the not too distant future. And you're in the Magic Kingdom. I think of how Imagineering has done all of the Marvel attractions so far. And everyone's going to turn the podcast off now. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan. I don't hate the Marvel movies, just not the biggest fan of them. But one of the things I like about the Marvel attractions in Disney parks is they are Marvel attractions in Disney parks, meaning that it is the collector brought his collection to Disney's California Adventure to show off, or Iron Man is doing an expo in Hong Kong Disneyland's Tomorrowland. So with that kind of mindset, you're in Tomorrowland, a welcome center in the sci-fi future. And by the way, the rest of Disneyland Magic Kingdom that you just saw is that old preserved park. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind for now. So you enter into the attraction. There's going to be a brief loading area. We'll put some switchbacks outside if it backs up. But again, like I said, this is going to be that beloved Horizons ride track system where it's sort of an omnimover, but it hangs on a shelf. And the reason I picked this is not just to please the inner Epcot fanboy and all of us, but because I needed a system that can go up a flight or a couple of flights even, like that system could. So the actual...
So we're going multi-story. We're going to see above and below.
Above it. Well, we're not going to go below. Well, although that could have been interesting. And that's another thing I want to try to reserve is think about a space and turning some space in the utilidors as an attraction. But imagine you enter in to the Welcome to Tomorrowland, the Tomorrowland Welcome Center. You're greeted and put on the attraction. You go through some show scenes that give a brief history of Tomorrowland, and it shows the various iterations of Tomorrowland. And then it goes through and explains all the different things you can experience in Tomorrowland. So there are sort of smaller representations of what you can expect. Go ride Space Mountain. Go check out Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin. Go to the Grand Prix Raceway.
It's literally a preview center.
It really is, and it sounds a little boring. It's kind of intentional. It's made to be very light, very just gentle,
quick scene by scene.
Yeah, and you take through scene by scene. But when you go upstairs, and this is where my brain went when you assigned this space. I thought about this location, and I thought about what potential is it wasting. And if you go back to that aerial map, one of the things that you'll see on the Adventureland side of where this attraction is, one of my favorite new restaurants, the Skipper Canteen, but on the front side of that facing the castle is the illustrious Club 33 location in the Magic Kingdom that gets a great porch to view the fireworks and the Cinderella Castle. So you've got this space over here that's not utilizing that same view. The People Mover gets it for about 20, 30 seconds as it goes by, but that's it. But because this is a gentle, slow-moving ride, as you go upstairs, there's going to be these beautiful, giant bay windows. And they're going to look great from the outside, too. Very futuristic. And this is your opportunity. A unique photo op. Get out your camera and take this great picture. It'll be angled in a way that the second half of it, you can take selfies or take pictures of the folks with you. And wow, isn't that great? And the narration would be, and here it is, the iconic Cinderella Castle standing for hundreds of years at the old Magic Kingdom Park. It's still beautiful today, and you can go visit the rest of this perfectly preserved park. So in the notion of Tomorrowland, the rest...
You would see this from the ride vehicles?
You would see this from the ride vehicles. So from the perspective of when you're in Tomorrowland on this attraction, the rest of Magic Kingdom exists, But the premise is that Magic Kingdom is this almost historical preserve. Oh, we took this thing from the past and we've maintained it. So go check it out if you have extra time. But otherwise, you're going to go do all the things in Tomorrowland.
So it feels like they're the proprietors of the over and the caretakers of the overall Magic
Well, this
Kingdom.
is really what I thought about is what is going to happen to Magic Kingdom in 300 years, in 500 years, in
Yeah.
1,000 years? Are there going to be, pardon me, are there going to be enthusiasts who spend their own time and money maintaining the space when the public has moved on? When we all have personal holodecks and simulators and faster than light technology to travel the galaxy, who's going to theme parks? But
Huh.
we know that there's enough interesting people in the world that there's going to be folks that still want to maintain this, and that's
Interesting.
and
So
that's the,
that's tomorrow.
yeah.
Awesome.
And then the attraction should let you out just like the former attraction does inside the Star Traders area. So it spits you out on the other side of Tomorrowland. And that prepares you to go, okay, this was a primer in this park. There's this whole big park. And I now know specifically what's all in Tomorrowland. There's the Speedway, there's Space Mountain, Tron's coming soon, there's the Carousel of Progress, there's the People Mover, there's Buzz Lightyear, and that's what it functions. So this is not an e-ticket, but this is a solid C-ticket that is, are you bored? Are you tired? Are you hot? Do you need some AC? Do you want to go on an attraction that'll never have more than a 20-minute wait? Is it something that you can take your 2-year-old on? And that's what it is. It's just a nice, gentle, easy breezy experience. Analogous
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
People Mover. The People Mover is almost the next step up
Sure.
from that.
Yeah. It's almost like if you had wings, that was, this was the ride back in the
Oh yeah.
70s. It was a short little trip across the world, spit you in and out. And this is similar, but it's of Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Similar. And it's a great first ride. There's all the rope droppers, but there's the people who just mosey in for their first time ever. And they want to get a sense of what is this place? That starts their day.
Yeah, and you could even incentivize people to that. Like when they say, "I don't know what to do," and they say, "Well, go over to the Welcome Center in Tomorrowland. They'll give you a sticker and they'll tell you what to do." And maybe there's a meet and greet at the end that kind of sets you up for the expectations of how these things work. And uh, that's just what I
That's
thought
cool.
of is just turn it into take the feedback from all those horror stories and make it something gentle, make it something light, and again, make it something that we know these diehard Disney fans, they'll uh, just crash my brain here for a second. But there's when you're riding the People Mover in Tomorrowland and you get near the unload, and if they're not very busy, you can look to the cast member and say, "Can we stay on?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, sure." And they mark you down as a re-ride, so they know that there's someone still on the attraction. And that's a great little feeling. And this ride should have that ability too. Do you want to stay?
Yeah.
Hey, can we stay on? Sure, no problem. I mean, it's always got like a 15-20 minute wait. Again, it's not something that people are going to your litmus test. Is someone going to plan a vacation around this ride? I don't think so, but maybe, but again,
Yeah.
just something light and easy. Just ease
You
everybody
know,
into it.
yeah. I think if we step out of the DisneySpace pretend mode and think of Imagineering reality mode, this is something that they do need to be mindful of is for those new visitors, for the people who haven't been in 15, 20 years. Once they step in, they can do all the planning they can on the Genie Plus app, whatever, but that doesn't really give them a true sense of what the park is going to be like. What is that really welcoming introduction other than walking down walking down Main Street and picking your path? And those are good experiences, but this is sort of that next level.
And then,
And I almost wonder if it could be applied to the other lands as well in a small spaces like
oh,
that.
like an
Something
adventure
like
land. Like, here's your
kind
adventuring outpost. Get ready to go on your adventure. Well, maybe Swiss
something
Family
like that.
Robinson could serve that kind of role, or and the castle
Yeah,
itself could be that for Tomorrowland. Or no,
right.
I'm sorry, Fantasyland.
For Yeah, or the princess's little meet and greet area. That's
Yeah.
where it used to be part of the Snow White's Scary Adventures. Could be a little bit of that. But of course, some of these lands are simple enough to comprehend. Tomorrowland has always been difficult to comprehend, even in its early days, and that's an interesting take.
And then one
Giving
other
them what
thing I think
preview.
could be a little fun, and I didn't I wanted to make a list of these and I couldn't come up with any ideas. So I wanted you to try to come up with it. One of the things I think could be funny is it could represent certain things within Disney's history. And just like things in history, sometimes details get wrong. So like they could show uh gosh, I can't think of a good example, but just it's like if it being a museum piece and it's talking about Magic Kingdom, have it put out some incorrect facts like, oh, the park opened in 1973 when Mr. Disney dedicated it. And like, no, he wasn't there, and it opened in 71, and just a couple little things like that. So because it's that welcoming first attraction that people get off it and they start spouting details and then they start getting corrected, like, well, no, that's not what the ride told me.
What if it was narrated by Howard Stark, the actor who played Howard Stark in the Marvel movies? But he didn't play Stark in the ride. You could just
You just
feel.
like his voice. Who's that actor? The one
He's got that Walt Disney-esque character about him.
the one who was on Mad Men, who was in Iron Man 2, or the one that was in the Agent Carter series.
Iron Man 2.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, there was
Yeah. Yeah.
there was a lot of nods to the World's Fair, 64 for
Yeah.
65 World's Fair, and the Stark Expo. Um, I'd be fine with that. Again, with Magic Kingdom and the Walt Disney World parks, what they can and can't do with the Marvel characters is, boy, the fact that they ponied up the 80 million for the Fox catalog, you really feel like they're going to make some sort of deal with Comcast. But we'll see what happens.
Right. So I may have told you my way out of that contract. It's sort of a joke.
Go ahead and tell the audience. I love this.
Okay, so if the word is that any park that is east of the Mississippi cannot, other than Universal, cannot have Marvel in the
Mm-hmm.
park, right? So Walt Disney World near Disney Springs has a river, a quote unquote river, that leads from that lake, Village Lake, to the um, Riverside Resort and Port
The
Orleans area.
Sasagula River, according to
The
Google.
Sasagula River. And Sasagula also means what? What's another word for Sasagula
I don't
River?
know.
Mississippi River.
Is that real? Yeah.
So, yeah. So if they just change the name of that little stream, that little really kind of a canal,
Then
to the
that
Mississippi,
covers
and if
Epcot,
you,
covers Hollywood, covers Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. You're right.
yeah, all the parks are west of the Mississippi. There you go. Disney has control of that name. They could get their way out of that
I think
contract.
I think Disney would have an easier time just rerouting the Mississippi River to Jacksonville and say, "Oops, sorry, now we got the contract."
Right. That's a whole conversation on of itself, pulling Marvel out of Universal.
All right, Mark. Well, I gave you my pitch, the Welcome Center, the Welcome to Tomorrowland. Let me hear.
I like
Oh,
it.
thank you. Let me hear what you want to do with the old. What were the attractions names? The mission, Flight to the Moon,
Flight to the
Mission to
Moon,
Mars,
Mission to Mars,
Alien Extraterrestrial Encounter, and then Stitch's Great Escape.
Stitch's Great Escape. Okay, I have two ideas. One is a little zany, and the other one is, I don't know, it's almost like yours a little bit. But we'll go through
Let's
them.
go zany first.
So, okay, zany. Okay, so uh, a little preamble to my idea here is that Disney's going to Disney. And when I say that, I'm going to pull in some properties into this, one of them being Star Wars. Now I know it rubbed some people the wrong way, including yourself and me, to put Star Wars in Tomorrowland.
Disneyland did it in
Even,
1986.
Disneyland did it, yeah, and they've done it a lot since then. They don't just have Star Tours; they have Hyperspace Mountain
Mm-hmm.
and the something of the Jedi and the Magic Eye Theater there, and
I saw that in
merch everywhere.
2017. That was actually a really great little short edit film. It was like a primer for Star Wars, and that was really neat.
Yeah. So when we don't like Tomorrowland having Star Wars, what that means is when you look at the title scene of Star Wars, it says "Long ago in a galaxy far away." So how can you have a an epic storyline?
They've got robots and
that's long
spaceships.
ago?
It's the future. Like let's
Yeah.
be honest. It's
Yeah. The way I sort of side skirt my way away from that issue is I think of it like this. Those little title scenes are thought to come from the Journal of the Wills. It's, a book that was being read to Wookiees about space wars, right? Long ago in a galaxy far away, sort of like, long ago in a castle far away.
yeah, it's to evoke that
Storybook.
storybooks feeling.
Well, we don't know when that storybook was written. We don't know if it was written in the past or written in the future. So let's just assume it was written in the future and it's about the past, which is in our future. So it's tomorrow. So we're going to put Star Wars in Tomorrowland, but we're going to do it in a different kind of way. And I think the best way to describe my pitch here is I've written a script of how this works out, and the script itself reveals what we'll see and how it will be structured. And I think I'll just read it that way. The first rule is that I'm not going to tear the building down.
Okay.
I'm going to have it the same, and it's going to have much of the same stuff that it has today. You prepare in this open room with videos up above you, sort of giving you things to laugh at while you're waiting for the automatic doors to open. And when those doors open, guests make their way through the convoluted queue, filling up all available spaces, and you see that glass room in front of you that used to occupy the mission to Mars control room and the Sir robot and all that. And so now that room it may not have glass in front of it. It's sort of open to the guests. It'll be a crazy spaceport honky tonk. All right. Full of ragtag space pilots and travelers. Some of them are creepy, some are slimy, and many of them are fuzzy and googly eyed. And I'm not sure if that'll clue you into where this is going. And some of the creatures that guests may have seen before may be there, and they were noticed traveling with a certain Captain EO before. So you might see Hooter and Idy and Odie and Fuzzball and those guys, maybe. And there's also a couple of Gamorreans standing guard at the closed doors at the end of the queue. Do you remember what the Gamorreans were?
Oh, I was called them the pig guards in Jabba's palace. Yeah.
The pig. Yeah. So they're not letting anybody get past there until things are ready to get past. So inside that honky tonk, and it's really moving and shaking and going crazy, Maz Kanata is there, and she turns around and sees the guests and welcomes them. Do you remember Maz Kanata?
She was from The Force Awakens. She owned the canteen that they went to.
Yes. Yeah. So she has a newly opened refreshments oasis between the Outer Rim systems. This is after the rise of Skywalker. Okay. So she's moved on. She has now this little oasis, and she mentions that pilots often travel here to trade parts, replenish lost crew members, and sometimes entertain new business. And so that's what we're here for. 2 holograms are in the back, and they suddenly just activate. All right, so now we see some new characters. One of the holograms to our right is the elder Lando Calrissian, and this would be the actual actor who plays Lando Calrissian. Billy D. He's gonna in his elder self. So he's all sly and cordial, and he's got a style about him, and he greets Maz and the surrounding guests. And on the other hologram, Rey Skywalker appears. Okay, so now we're wondering, what in the world are they doing here? Lando explains that he believes that he's discovered a motherlode of kyber crystals on the disco moon of the Miko system. All right, so the kyber crystals are sort of missing from the galaxy. They've all been depleted. They've been used up on lightsabers and the Death Star and whatever else. They've been sort of destroyed by the Emperor, and they're nowhere to be found. But Lando's found some, and he wants to have somebody go up there and help him go get them. And then in the hologram with Rey, right after he says this, a little creature just appears right beside her suddenly, a short little creature about up to her shoulder or her elbow. And it's Darth Nader yelling, "The Kyber crystals are mine!" And Rey turns him around, shoving him off, says, Yeah, you got wiped out in episode 6. Get out of here. Do you know who Darth Nader is?
No, I don't know who that is.
All right. Let's see if we can catch on to who he might be. Lando explains, I need a brave crew to travel to the Disco Moon and gather all the crystals you can find. Of course I would do it myself, but I've got a style to maintain. And Rey says, oh, brother. Who is this guy? Okay, Lando explains that he's offered Rey Skywalker a handsome contract to provide advice and caution with retrieving and handling the Kyber crystals, given her Jedi experience. And Rey turns around and asks him, explain to me why again that you want these Kyber crystals. And Lando says, I thought they'd make a nice chandelier for my galactic star cruiser. An exquisite space captain has to have style, you know. So that's what he wants these things for. And then suddenly, a short furry creature with a hooked nose reappears beside Rey, dressed in a Kylo Ren helmet. I will retrieve the Kyber crystals and rule the galaxy. Rey pushes his forehead away and says, are you joking? Who is this little pipsqueak? So have you caught on to who the little character is so far?
Oh, I think it's going to be Salacious Crub.
Almost.
Okay.
He's got the hook. Okay, I'll go back a little bit
right.
here. We have fuzzy little creatures that are googly-eyed, and we have this creature that has appeared twice. One looking like Darth Vader, the second time looking like Kylo Ren, and he's got a hooked nose.
Who is it?
Gonzo.
What?
This is a Muppet experience from beginning to end. This is the Muppet Show Star Wars special sequel.
Okay.
This is let's just move ahead and see where it takes us.
All right.
So Gonzo's trying to pester Rey. First he's Darth Vader, she shoves him away. You got wiped out in episode 6. He comes back is Kylo Ren. Are you joking? Who is this little pipsqueak? So she's not taking him seriously. Yep. So Ma says, she responds to Lando saying, we have some volunteers right here, right now, who just showed up, who will gladly go to and retrieve your Kyber crystals for free. Unless, of course, they've used the Genie app, of course. They had to pay their way in. And Lando says, excellent. Let's all proceed to the docking bay 12 and we'll be on our way. And I should mention, be careful where you step. I hear the place is a pig pen. The Gamorreans stand aside and the doors swing open and the guests enter docking bay theater. All right, so now I'm going to explain this theater. And they're literally the same theaters. You know, you pick A or B, whichever one is open next, they're equal. And if you remember the theaters, how they were in Mission to Mars, they're perfectly circular, the seating arrangement. They had a screen at the bottom, a screen at the top. And then when they were the alien encounter and Stitch Great Escape, they had the cylinder in the middle and cuckoo robots from the top with lasers and all that. So in this configuration, I'm going to have the center be reopened so we can see screen on the bottom, we can see screen on the top, we can see stuff. But there's a stage that's off to one side of the theater. And so the seats are sort of reconfigured where they can sort of aim their way to see the stage. So you got a picture of that?
I do.
Idea? Yeah. Think of a round theater and you have a pie, like a piece of a pie that represents that little area. That's the stage. And so that stage is sort of like a cylinder. It can rotate around and show different scenes if you open curtains, kind of like in the Carousel.
I was thinking just that, yeah.
Yeah, kind of that thing. Okay. So then the guests are seated and they see it sort of feels like a capsule. They sit down and they're looking at the screen and they hear a narrator The doors close. They hear this really British sounding narrator saying, "And now, pigs in space," featuring the master of the swine trek spaceship, the intrepid Captain Link Heartthrob, and his trusty first mate and second in command, an extremely dangerous Miss Piggy, and the super brain behind this whole ghastly mistake, the inexplicable Dr. Julius Strangepork. And then the curtain walls rotate to the sides, and the three pigs appear in their seats behind the ship's console. So the people in this theater are now sort of inside the swine trek spaceship with the three the pigs. We are experienced Pigs in Space Strikes Back.
Right.
That's the name. That's the name of this
I like
attraction. It's a little bit crazy. So the narrator keeps going. Last week, our heroes survived a desperate landing on this oasis for, well, $5.99 steak dinners advertised on a hyperspace billboard. And so you can tell where we're going here. This is Muppets Pigs in Space mixed with Star Wars. Do you remember this? Did you ever see the Star Wars special on the original Muppet Show?
Oh, many times. That's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. So the premise behind it is Mark Hamill was actually the guest of that show was this Scottish Muppet who could gargle Gershwin.
That's right.
And Kermit thought it was just a terrible idea to have him on the show and didn't have any other guests that appeared. But, suddenly Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and R2-D2 crashed through a wall, and they said they were on a mission to find the lost Chewbacca. And they realized that they weren't just on another planet, they were stuck on this third-rate variety show. And Kermit got mad saying, "We're not a third-rate variety show, we're a second-rate variety show." And so Mark Hamill came on. Luke Skywalker went outside and fetched his cousin Mark Hamill, so Mark Hamill could volunteer to, do some skits on the show. And Kermit's like, "Well, what can you do?" "Well, I can sing, I can dance, I can juggle, I can gargle Gershwin." "What would you like me to do?" "I don't think you'll work out." But anyway, the rest, it was literally a mix of Star Wars and the Muppets. And so we're going to harken back to that and do it here and do a Pigs in Space type of thing. So let me go through the rest of the show here. Link starts out, "First make Piggy set course for the Disco Moon system of the Miko system, or Disco Moon of the Miko system, and bring your dancing shoes." Up above the pigs in their spaceship is suspended BB-8. You remember in the Millennium Falcon when the Falcon was kind of jostling around and he threw out all the cables to the side of the wall and he was just kind of
Spider-Man
hanging
up there.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's like this in the swine trek permanently with his harpoon cables out there. And Piggy looks up and asks, "Why is that kickball up there like that?" Dr. Strangepork answers, "He claims that is a pigsty down here and doesn't want to touch anything." And BB-8 beeps in confirmation. Then suddenly Luke Skywalker appears from a door and moves behind the pigs, dressed in the same, tailored outfit that he was in the original Muppet Show, ready to participate in the whole adventure. And Piggy says, "Beat it, farm boy. We have Disney Plus to watch that old episode." And then Luke kind of just moseys out the door and pouts on his way out, sort of an animatronic Luke. Okay, so from this point, the theater acts just like it was in Mission to Mars. The theater rumbles, or Strangepork says, "We are fueled up and ready to blast off." So the theater rumbles and shakes, and white smoke fills the floor, and Link exclaims, "The rise of the last pigs in space awakens," as they blast off. And when they get up to space, Strangepork says, "Hyperspace," and it zips, and you can see the screens in the bottom and the top just do their little flashy stuff, but in a real cheap way that's very Muppety. Suddenly, the screen behind them swirls and a figure appears behind them. It's Gonzo the Galactic, dressed like Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon.
So now he's completely off the Star Wars book.
Yeah, he's out of the Star Wars book, but there's a little bit of connection with Ming the Merciless. Do you remember Max von Sydow? He played this kind of a Church of the Force guy at the very beginning of The Force Awakens. This is where Poe was on.
Yeah, he'll set things right. Yeah.
Yeah. That actor is I can't remember what his name was. I think that's his name, Max von Sydow.
That's correct.
His character name was Lorsan Tika, but he actually played Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon. So there's a little bit of tiny connection. But Gonzo's trying to He's trying to rule the universe, so he can't be Darth Vader. He can't be Ray or Kylo Ren. So he's going to just make up his own character. He's going to be Gonzo the Galactic. And so the screen fizzles out, and Ray Skywalker appears. What have I gotten myself into? Link asks, "Who was that?" Talking about Gonzo. And Miss Piggy responds, "Beats me. Ryan Johnson wrote this script." And then Strange Pork asks, "We are coming in for a landing. Brace yourselves. You remember the last landing?" And the theater rumbles, and the seats make a big thud. They don't make a thud yet. We're not done yet. Ray exclaims, "We've got to get down, Swytrek." Link explains, "The landing gear lever seems to be jammed. It's not my fault." Miss Piggy slides over and yells, "Out of my way, bacon arms. Hi-ya!" And then karate chops the landing gear. Men. And then the thing lands. Link announces, "Disco base here. The swine trek has landed." BB-8's head slides to the bottom of his body when they land. So he's still suspended up in their cable, but the gravity sort of shocks him, so his head just kind of goes upside down.
People are going to go nuts for the BB-8 stuff. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And all of this of course will be completely rewritten, but it's got to be stupid, zany, laugh a second the whole way through, and these people have to come out just cackling their butts off because it's pigs in space.
I like what you're doing where you're using Star Wars and you're going to upset the Star Wars purist at first, but then once you introduce the Muppets and people see what you're doing with it, I think people are going to be much more relaxed with okay, we don't need to take this seriously. The Muppets are involved. There's going to be fourth wall breaking jokes. It's a lot of fun.
If you've seen the Muppet Show, they do a lot of making fun of themselves all the time.
Very self-deprecating.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what this is.
Now,
so we get into
I just got to stop you right here. The two best animatronics in almost any show have got to be the Statler and Waldorf in the Muppet 3D. We gotta bring them over. You gotta have them in those strap-in chairs and what are you putting us in here?
All right, we'll get to Act 3.
Okay, all right.
We don't have that far to go. Okay, so now they're on the planet, or I'm sorry, the disco moon of the Miko system. And you're about to see where we got that name. The swine trek curtains slide closed, and the stage within rotates, and a giant disco ball from the ceiling drops, and suddenly there's lights and colors and flashes, and everything just becomes this dance party. The curtains slide open again, and the three pigs are standing out on the planet or the moon surface in their spacesuits. When they're in their spacesuits, they sort of have these spherical, round helmet things that are fully glass, but they have these little pop out things where their ears come through, their little pig ears. So they look real, but they still look goofy, muppety. And then between them, raised up on a pedestal, are a couple of inhabitants of the moon. They're these spacesuit wearing disco dancers up on a pedestal, dancing to the Star Wars Galactic Funk, playing on the speakers, and it's a big party. So if you've ever seen the Star Wars Galactic Funk album, this is their disco album that came out back in the 1970s. Yeah. Look at that album, and you'll see two. It's very Art Deco.
You shared that on. I'll retweet it on our podcast Twitter, but you shared that recently. Like you said, hey, make us something with these characters.
How about fill in music here, right? And so it's playing that exact Galactic Funk disco Star Wars. Da, 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 da,
That's going to get people dancing out, just like Captain EO. You'd finish that, and it would be Another Part of Me, real jazzy song of his, and that would get people dancing when they left the Magic Eye Theater. That's what this needs to do as well. Is get people humming that Star Wars theme.
Well, when it's doing this, the young people are scratching their heads like, what in the world is this? But, all the 45, 50-year-old guys are just like, whoa,
all the dads.
This is my jive. All right. They'll know exactly.
And kids will love that because, oh, Dad, this is embarrassing.
Yeah. And it brings those two little space dancing figures into the genre through Pigs in Space. This is the first time they're ever in a kind of a Star Wars story. Make animatronics of those guys dancing.
I like it,
Okay,
and
but
I think it's a great. I think Pigs in Space is one of those like. If I go up to my brother-in-law and I just say the Muppets, he'll just like pigs in space. It's one of those
yeah,
things that people just they latch onto, and it's kind
yeah.
of it's not really been something that it could fit into any of the Muppet films. So I feel like
Mhm.
those characters may have gone to the wayside, and it's a good opportunity to bring them back.
Yeah, it's a perfect place for them too, and it harkens back to the mission to the Mars and all that. We're blasting off in a capsule with them. Now it's just hilarious. Also like that skit that the veterinary hospital that they do sometimes
That's right with the Ralph.
with Ralph the dog as the doctor, and sometimes the narrator comes on and they're all like looking around trying to figure out where the voice is coming from, but they never ask where's that voice coming from. Yeah. So while the galactic funk is going on, behind all the theater sitters, there's walls all around them. So the walls begin to drop behind them, which some people can see in front of them and see walls drop. And so what they're looking in now is they're looking that they've landed in this crater inside the moon, and they can see the crater walls literally. But the crater walls are made of cheese because, of course, the moon is made of cheese. And there's little Muppet mice crawling all along little tunnels and stuff and holes and poking their heads out and looking around at audience members with their beady little Muppet eyes and talking to each other. Little moon mice eating the
That's
cheese.
really cute.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's meant to be cute and hilarious and like, oh gosh, more Muppets. They're everywhere. And then a hologram of Gonzo the Galactic appears in the center of the theater. Big and huge, kind of like the Emperor. And he comes on, ha 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 ha, fools! My space mice are already mining the surface of the moon. They will find my precious kyber crystals before you even have a chance. They will be mine, I tell you, ha 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 ha. Dr. Strangepork says, his mice are everywhere. We need to think of something quick. Miss Piggy's looking around the audience. Look, even the moon's inhabitants are wearing mouse ears. Some even glow in the dark. All the audience wearing Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse ears. Ray appears on the screen. You need to be careful. The crystals are certainly near. Some can be unstable in their raw form. Please tread lightly. She doesn't want these things to blow up. Gonzo says, hurry, mice, eat the cheese. Find me my kyber crystals and give them to me. Miss Piggy says, rats. BB-8 whirls and beeps and his head spinning to the top of his body. Remember, it was at the bottom of the body when they landed. Dr. Strangepork says, BB-8 is right. We must use the secret weapon. Arm the secret weapon. Do you remember Dr. Strangepork? He was sort of that German-speaking
Yeah,
pig.
he kind of looked like Doc. He kind of had the glasses and the wild hair.
Yeah, I think he was meant to be the remember the original NASA program, and they had the lead scientist of it from Germany.
All the Operation Paperclip guys, yeah.
Yeah, so he's kind of like that guy. So Ray explains to him, what secret weapon? What are you about to do? Captain Link says, look, there's the secret weapon on the bottom of the cave. So at the bottom screen, so now the audience is directed to look at the bottom of the cave, and they see a screen. In a hole in the moon and the cheese, they see who? They see Crazy Harry.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember Crazy Harry?
Yep.
He's the guy with the TNT pump handle. So he's down there laughing maniacally. You know what he's going to do? Secret weapon, huh? No, don't do it, Ray. Ray says, don't do it. Please don't do it. And he's just down there cackling like crazy. And so all the audience members are like gripping their armchairs because whenever you see Crazy Harry, you know what's coming. Prepare for detonation of the secret weapon, exclaims Dr. Strangepork. Ray screams, maniacal laughter comes from Harry. Boom! The seats shake and the theater rumbles and there's more smoke everywhere. No! Exclaims Gonzo the Galactic. So the blast has shaken all the kyber crystals from their hidden crevices from Harry's TNT. And all the mice have run away. So crystals are falling from the ceiling, they're appearing in the walls, they're glowing, and it's just kyber crystals everywhere. And somehow, however we can figure it out, we can actually show like a waterfall of crystals coming from the ceiling to the floor. Just overabundance of kyber crystals, and so the Muppet or the pigs are trying to gather up what they can to get away. And then the blast has knocked something else out of the wall. A piece of cheese has fallen, and revealed in the cheese is, just like you asked, Stotler and Waldorf.
Oh, okay, there you go.
They're back there. Yeah, so Statler says, "Who interrupted our retirement?" Waldorf says, "I thought the show was canceled." Statler says, "Well, my stars, I never thought I'd see pigs again." Miss Piggy says, "How did you two asteroids get up there anyway?" "Beats me, J.J. Abrams wrote this part." So we're constantly making fun of ourselves.
That's the classic
Ryan
Muppet
Johnson
style, the self-deprecation.
Yeah. So Ryan Johnson wrote one part and J.J. Abrams wrote this part. So Ray takes her lightsaber and tosses it behind her and says, "Okay, I think I've done my duty. You guys are crazy. I'm out of here," and fizzles out. So she tosses her lightsaber just like Luke Skywalker. Screw this. Captain Link says, "Let's blast off and get these crystals to Lando." And they blast off, and there's more shaking, more smoking. So the theater acts just like it did before, and people are loving it. And the swine trek, the whole swine trek set reappears. It just kind of rotates, and you'd see it again. They're all flying in behind their consoles. Miss Piggy says, "What do we do with our share of our extra kyber crystals?" Dr. Strange Porks responds, "Look, we can make our own lightsabers." And then they all reach down and lift their respective lightsabers, which are sort of already pre-made, and they activate them. Well, Dr. Strange Pork's lightsaber is sort of shaped like a zigzag, and Miss Piggy's is shaped like a heart, and Link's is shaped like a swirly, curly pigtail.
Yeah.
And Piggy's all aggravated and says, "Looks like we got the duds." Lando reappears on the screen. "Well, crew, how did you do?" Captain Link responds, I think you're going to have a big chandelier." Lando says, "Oh, no worries. Take the extras to Batu. Savi will know what to do with them." So that's how Savi's workshop gets the extra kyber crystals from this show.
So you actually do tie it a little bit into Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. And then all three pigs look ahead. Captain Link explains, "Hit the hyperspace, BB-8. BB-8 flicks his extension arm and flicks out the little thumb flame. You know, that little trick he does with a little flame. And Link says, "Careful with that thing. We don't want to start a barbecue." "To infinity and the next gas station." And the narrator says, "Tune in next week as our heroes face their ultimate nemesis, Gonzo the Hutt." And then the show's over. So there you go. Pigs in Space Strikes Back.
I like it.
A little bit silly. You know, I was really trying to think of how I should explain, because I could have come in here and says, "Let's just do Pigs in Space," and you can just imagine what you want to do. I felt like writing a script.
You did. That was great.
Because I think it's really important that the audience comes out just laughing their tails off, telling everybody about it, and it would be a solid repeat attraction.
What do you imagine about a 12-minute show so you can get people in and out every 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you utilize both theaters and just keep it moving.
By utilizing both theaters, and in my reimagining of the space, I decided to just bulldoze and rebuild and try to appeal to some of the Epcot fanboys and address some of those guest concerns. What you've done is somewhat similar. You've utilized the existing space, you've rethemed it, and brought something that I would say fits into the current mold of Tomorrowland, and that's a little bit of humor. You got the Monsters Inc. laugh floor across the street, and just as an aside, I happened to be in Magic Kingdom the day that attraction opened. I don't know why. I also happened to be in Magic Kingdom the day they TP'd the castle when the Stitch ride opened. I don't
Great.
often plan for those things. They just tend to happen. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts on the laugh floor. What do you think? Are you a fan of it? Do you like the interactivity? Do you like the almost live animation? What do you think?
I think it would be better suited in Disney's Hollywood Studios, honestly. Sort of,
Going to the point about Star Wars is in the past, the fantasy story, Monsters Inc. is not in the future. They're just a bunch of trans-dimensional monsters, living in, but they use some elements of high technology. They've got some sci-fi elements with their door portals. I guess.
Yeah, the general idea, Tomorrowland has this whole power sort of motif about it, the power plant near Tomorrowland, and the idea of the laugh floor was to power Tomorrowland.
That's right.
with laughter. So that's sort of the
And
tie
all of
in there. But it's a little bit,
Monstropolis, which
yeah, it's a little bit of a weak tie-in, I think. It would have been better if, position it somewhere. You remember I don't know what the theater is today, but it used to be the Monster Sound Show,
yeah. Right now, I think they're doing Mickey
like
Mouse
a
shorts in there.
Mickey's. Yeah, it would have been a good place for there, I think.
I could see that, and
Kind of
that
in
could
a
also,
drive-in
and that
theater.
really that really would fit in better with the more. They are putting on a show, so it does have
Yeah,
that television and sort of film. You're using comedians and actors, but
yes,
I got to tell you, maybe the placement's not the best. I really feel like the laugh floor is underrated. I every time I've taken my nephews in it, and the fact that you can have them text a joke and then they'll read it and they'll say, Jordan from Altamont Springs, Florida wants to know, how do you make a hanky dance? Put a little boogie in it, and then they play, and everyone laughs. And they said my
yeah,
joke. And kids love it. I've been that guy probably 5 times, and let me tell you, the harder you try to not be that guy, the more likely they are to zero in on you. If
yeah,
you try to act inconspicuous, they will seek you out for participation. A lot of people don't like that.
yeah.
My wife, Mary Ellen, she does not want to be called on in any situation like that and put on a screen.
Yeah, as a concept, it's great. It could have even been in Pleasure Island
Yeah, I could see
in some
that.
other form. But there's so many attractions in Magic Kingdom. It seems like people skip that attraction just because they can't get to it. And there's not enough attractions in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and that's why I think it would be better there. It would give another thing for crowds to form.
I'm not going to mince words. I'm not the biggest fan of the Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin. I
Hmm.
love Toy Story. I love that character. I'm, I'm not thrilled with that attraction in the least.
Yeah, I was at first, but I think it served its time.
It's really long in the tooth now, and especially, and I am the contrarian. I am the scrapper that will always fight with Disneyland fans when they say every version of their attraction is better than the Magic Kingdom version. I will always be there to reply, but what about, and
Yeah,
also, and if uh but their Buzz Lightyear ride just trashes ours completely, to the point where I'm like, bulldoze the whole area, build something big
yes,
and new and
yes,
futuristic. So
I
we're
agree.
gonna eventually have to circle around and go to this space. Oh, you had a second pitch that you wanted to talk about as well. Let's bring that up, and then we'll wrap this up and talk about next week's show.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to do this quick. The next idea is a little bit lighter. It's not necessarily an attraction, but it's a new concept of a use of a space in a theme park, I think. And we mentioned before, when this was the alien encounter, that it was the convention center
Hmm.
in concept. The excess technologies were showing their
They
wares.
were at the Tomorrowland convention
Yeah,
space. They were renting it
yeah,
basically.
yeah. So that made it feel like something different. Okay, the name of this space and this idea is called um, Sky Lounge. And when you look at the script on the side of the building that says Sky Lounge, all the letters are lowercase except the letter L. L is uppercase
Hmm.
of lounge. And above the L is this little star, sort of like a candle flame, just a little starburst. And so what the space is it's kind of a free form, free for all. You can enter here and mingle with your friends. You enter in the same way that it's permanently open, so you can walk in. You pass by the glass walls. I'll explain what those are used for later. But you go to the theaters, and I would reconstruct the theaters. Basically, I would get rid of the walls of the theaters. If you look at the architectural plans, the entire building from end to end, all the way to the edge of Fantasyland, is just a bunch of hexagons everywhere. It's hexagon, 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 hexagon. And the two theaters are in these giant
Hmm.
hexagons, and they're kind of built within, so the theaters are circular. I would get rid of the theater walls. I would fill in the theater um, shape, how it goes down, and I would just make them both a flat floor. I would open those spaces to each other, and it would be like this dumbbell set of giant hexagons in these two big room spaces. And so let's go back to the sign, the Sky Lounge. The letter G would be a lowercase g, and it would have a loop forming the upper part of the G and another loop forming the lower part of the G. And each little filled in area of that letter G would have filled in LED color.
Okay.
And they would sort of just solid color, like one's blue, one's green, and they'd sort of pulse back and forth and become other colors. And those two little spots catch the eye. And so each of these building spaces within the area have emotive lighting inside of them. One of them is one color and one's another color. And you sort of have to get from one area to the other. They're not completely open to each other. But these are, to me, meeting spaces. Now, if you think of the modern days of going to any of these theme parks, the difference between now and when I was there when I was a kid is the social media aspect of everything. You know who people are, even though you've never met them in your life, right? You and I were like that at some point.
At one point, now we broke bread
Yeah.
together, but
Yeah,
I've got a background in developmental psychology, and I've lately been doing a lot of studies on what's known as parasocial relationships. Now, that's not a reference to my dead live streaming platform, but these one-way relationships where there's bloggers and vloggers and people that you follow and you see in certain activities. And
yes.
I'll talk a little bit about the project that, I used to do quite a bit. I was on Periscope and would do live streaming, particularly from the Magic Kingdom on Saturday mornings. Well, what I found was we developed a very loyal and consistent fan base, and I'd like to think that we gave them great entertainment and fun and companionship. But this is something that also happens when you're in like talk radio or morning radio. I always said what I would have wanted to do is if Saturday morning cartoons were still a thing, we would have been the bumpers between the cartoons. Hey, here's Jeff and Mary Ellen, and they're live at Magic Kingdom. What are they up to? Wow, we're on Splash Mountain right now. Hey guys, how's it going? All right, and we'll be back later. And people are eating their breakfast. They're laying in bed. It's an intimate relationship where you wake up with people, and it's so weird. Like even now, with the COVID and the shutdowns and the main platform going away, and now we're trying to do it on Twitter, we're kind of in a disarray with that. And that's why I'm really glad you and I have been able to get together here, because this has been a fun way to engage in a creative outlet. Now that the parks are opening back up again and we're ready for the 50th, I'm hoping to get out there a little bit more. But it does, you feel like there's all these people that know so much about you, and you don't know anything about them, and it's a different experience.
Yeah, and I can count 20 people on my fingers and toes who are very popular. They're not Disney figures, but they're sort of they're not super fans, but people just know them. The people who have 2,000 followers on Twitter or 10,000 on Instagram, and their main focus is Disney parks day in and day out. It would be fun to have a way to have some sort of interaction with them from time to time. And so, I won't name names, but, let's just say the guy who's always popular on Facebook say, I'm going to be at the Magic Kingdom at Sky Lounge on 7:30 on Thursday for an hour.
That'd be fun.
Come show up and meet. Have a place for that. And I think this could be a place for that, called the Sky Lounge. And one section of the building could be, have a martini bar. I know people don't like alcohol, and again, Disney's going to Disney. These days, you're going to have that kind of thing. And I think it would be good to have like a little martini bar in one section and maybe a dessert bar in the other for those who don't want to drink.
I think there's a lot of varying opinions about alcohol in the parks, and specifically alcohol in castle parks. I'd like to say that like the people that were sacrosanct. I'll go back and I'll say this. I went to Disneyland in 2014, and there was an ESPN club or ESPN zone, I can't remember the specific name, that was just a 3-minute walk from the gates of the Magic Kingdom, and they had a full liquor bar, just like they have a full liquor bar at the Grand Californian Hotel, just like they have the Trader Sam's over at the Disneyland Hotel. You can go and get completely hammer drunk and then walk right into Disneyland. So the
Right.
idea that there's got to be this magic curtain or veil that will protect the children from the horrible drunks. Listen, security is going to do as incredible a job as always to make sure if people have been overserved or over imbibed, and if they're causing a nuisance, they're out of there. And
Yeah.
the other thing I was going to say to that is, like you said, a martini bar, a Disney martini bar, it's not a place doing 3-for-1s and people are getting sloshed. You're gonna get,
Yeah. That's one reason this is a neat idea, I think, because Disney can put all kinds of control on this. You can have these spaces that can be pre-reserved and invitation only at certain periods of time, and then if you can control like two drink maximums. You scan your magic band. If you go there a third time, sorry, you can have some Sprite, sir. Or here's a
and most bartenders are savvy
you
enough of
know
that anyway. Now, listen, I'm going to
yeah.
tell you. One time I went to dinner at Be Our Guest, and I remember it was the first time we saw champagne on the menu. Well, let's get a bottle, and then sure enough, I found myself making a fool of myself on Dumbo about
Mhm.
30 minutes after we left. So it can happen. I wasn't acting too rowdy, but I
Yeah.
was just having fun. Uh,
Yeah. But imagine just Jeff and Mary Ellen showing up in the space.
yeah.
I guarantee you would have just 15 random people says, "Oh, look, there's Jeff. Let's go meet
Oh.
him. Say hi."
Oh,
That kind
you.
of thing. All the time. But you always hear about these meet and
Yeah.
greets happening all the time. Mangello's going to say, "Let's meet over at the Tomorrowland Terrace um, restaurant and watch the fireworks from there." Why not have an assigned space for that? That is nice. The insides of these things. This is another idea I had. We have this attraction in Georgia. It's a temporary place. It's like a Van Gogh experience, where the art of Van Gogh is projected on walls and floors. Similar to what the Epcot experience in the Odyssey at Epcot. That projected mapping, beautiful, flowing art projected on the stuff. You could do that on the walls and the tables and stuff inside here, and it sort of be Tomorrowland art. You could actually show the promise and prologue painting just projected wide across the walls and make it slowly flow and animate and show other stuff like that. Scenes from the Tomorrowland movie of this futuristic space city, and just kind of give it. And it's not really to show that stuff specific so people can point at it and say, "That's why I'm here to look at this." It's sort of just give a decor to the place that gives it that place to want to be. So that's what it is. It's a place where you want to be. Get in the air conditioning, meet some people, and the other element of this is if you go back to Google Earth and you look to where these theaters are, there's giant hexagons on the roof. So you could have an elevator and a spiral stairway, glass stairway, leading up to an entire lounge deck, raised roof outside to the air, open place that's same footprint of what's underneath, with a full view of the Magic Kingdom, 360 degrees all around, and they can have their own martini bars and dessert bars up there. And it's an extended space. And if you can imagine standing in a place like that in the at nighttime, up on a roof, just like you had in your concept, but way up high, you have just a marvelous view of the Cinderella's castle, the fireworks, Space Mountain, the Astro Orbiter, and Tron.
I love it.
It would be incredible, and it's just a place to be
See,
and
that's
watch
where
the sunset.
my pitch and your pitch kind of meet,
Mhm.
where I was turning it into a gentle ride system that gave you that incredible view. You're creating a space there that's sort of like you said, a lounge, a relaxing space. So
Yeah,
it's sort of like the DVC lounges, like what they did upstairs at Imagination.
yeah,
But just a nice place to be, almost like the hallways that they had set up there at the Interventions near the
yeah,
end in the corridor that smelled like an open sewer. By the way,
yeah.
Ugh.
But those things were nice. The air conditioning, just like you
Yes,
said, people walk in them to cool off. But it's not really a place to be. Sky Lounge would be a place to be. And it's an example that if you have a space like that, it's not used today. It doesn't have to be an attraction. It doesn't have to be a show, and it can be something that people want to go to. And the reason I call it Sky Lounge was because of those upper decks. I went to Shanghai Disneyland, and when you go to Tomorrowland there, their Tron is situated lengthways across the width of the main section of the land. And it's just this giant backdrop that is glorious and beautiful. And at nighttime, it breathes. The audio of the speakers and the lighting changing of Tron, it all works as one organism, and it's wonderful.
So compare that to where we're building Tron. Ours will be sort of in the back, and
it's back, it's shoehorned, and it's turned 90 degrees. You can't see the daggum thing. This gives you sort of a vantage point to see it up on that Sky Lounge. And to really get, they can sort of Disney can design in ways for them to just bask in its glory right there. I don't know how they're going to provide the similar space in Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland to see Tron the way it's seen in Shanghai without something like that. But I think that would be fun. That's my idea, Sky Lounge. And in the area in the queue line, the kind of the behind the glass area, instead of having a little show back there, you could glass it back off, and you could actually have little studios like we're in right now, so that when the podcasters want to come to the Magic Kingdom and do a show right there, Disney can fit them in there, and then guests can watch them do their thing. Don't bring your Mac. We have everything for you. We got the headphones and the mics and the silencer bins and everything that you need.
Well, there used to be a full broadcast studio available for people like that. I know there's still one over at the ESPN Club on the boardwalk that they can utilize for broadcasting. But there used to be one similar to that in the studios right by that Sounds Dangerous sound studio. So something like that.
Similar to that, but for the people. Think of this place as Club 33 for the people.
For the people, for everyone.
Yeah. Sky Lounge. That's my idea.
Maybe we'll put Sky Lounge on top of my attraction. We'll combine them both.
That's what I had in mind when you were explaining that.
Oh, I forgot the one part of my pitch. Oh, can I throw this in at the end?
Yeah.
This is going to be a 2-hour podcast. If people enjoy it, I hope they do. Maybe we'll have to tighten up versions. That's okay. That's the point of this. This is you and I just talking, and we're recording it if anyone wants to listen. The attraction would have a stop for the people mover. Make the people...
in concept art, there was one.
Yep, there was. And that, to me, the people mover is pitched as this sort of municipal transportation system. Will give people an option to get off there and then they can experience that attraction. Or they get off the attraction and can immediately enter the people mover there instead and give them that option. Give them that real feel of it being a mass transit system and taking that opportunity. I don't know what the logistics of that would be, and I was thinking of turning the area with the Progress City model into the station for it.
That'd be cool.
That was one idea I had that right near the end, and I wrote it down on my notes, and I forgot to bring it up in my pitch. So.
I want to go to Sky Lounge tonight, and I want to watch the
new fireworks, which according to Twitter is people don't love it.
Well, I think we'll warm up to these things. I was like that about Harmonious last night. I watched the whole coverage of that, and I was pretty harsh about my opinion about it. But I'm going to digest, and of course, everybody needs to see these things in person, not just on a video.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I never watch things on a video or a live stream. I always try to experience them first. I was very diligent about all of the Disneyland attractions that we don't have, like Indiana Jones and Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio. I never once watched a video until I actually went on those attractions. And again, as a guy who spent the last 5.5 years live streaming from Walt Disney World, it's not going to translate. I try my best to give you that experience when I walk around the parks and what it's like to be a fly on the wall there. But it's like the app that I used to use was Periscope. It is like you were just looking at it through a Periscope lens and not through a big wide. There are vloggers that use the 360 degree cameras, That's a lot of fun for me. I like to watch those videos. You have what's the account you like on YouTube? Who does the 4K?
Yeah, 4K
Yeah, his
WDW.
videos are crystal
Yeah,
clear. Or, I don't
yeah,
know if it's he or she. Um, just really good stuff.
yeah. They're unnarrated. They're the audio of the environment
I'm
itself.
thinking about
So
doing
you,
videos kind of in that style, but also doing a little
mhm,
something different. But I always say that I try not to watch other Disney vloggers because I don't want to steal their ideas.
yeah, you got a good
I
shtick.
try to, and I always said that what we're doing is more like a morning talk show in Disney World, and try to have that patter, that back and forth, and let the audience really participate if they want to. But I'll never forget the first time I rented a golf cart and went to Fort Wilderness to go around and show people the decorations. A very prolific Disney vlogger had just done that, and I got a lot of like, "Hey, why are you copycatting that guy?" And I was like, I don't know him. It's just one of those things. Hey, there's only so much. There's only so much you can
Yeah,
point a camera at, right? So,
but there's going to be more of that as the years fly by, as all these devices become more
see,
prolific.
I've always been about the democratization of vlogging. I
Yeah.
always, when people would watch me on Periscope, I'd say, "And when you come, you do a video, and I'll share you to my
Mhm.
audience, and we'll all check it out, and we'll
Yeah.
all
And
cheer
meet at
you on."
Sky Lounge.
But then I would also tell people, "Hey, I'm a guy who's lived within 30 minutes of the Walt Disney World parks for 4 decades now. So when I go out there, if I want to play on my phone and or take some videos, I'm not wasting time on a $10,000 vacation. You know, I'm just at the local park. So it's a different
Right.
experience as well. So I tell people, hey, put the devices down and actually soak in the experience.
There you go.
Now, I've kind of teased it. Our next Disney space for next week. Now, this is kind of broad and open ended. I've actually got two ideas this time. So just like it's hard to keep up with you. But because I'm doing the pitch, I've already got two ideas. But we are going to visit Fort Wilderness.
Ooh, I have no idea what I'm going to do with
I know
that.
I've
That
got
sounds
so
fun.
many ideas for what I want to do with it. I love Fort Wilderness. It's one of my favorite places just in the world. Just to go there and walk around nature, to see the horses, to see all, especially during any major holiday. I don't care if it's 4th of July, Halloween, Christmas. The campers are always decorated and such fun. Um, my sister recently bought an RV, and last Christmas she got a week out there, and we were able to spend some time with the family there, and that is just such an incredible place, and I don't think it gets enough attention. So that's when I want to spotlight it on next week's show. And I want you to really think. I'm not going to give you hard parameters, but I want you to really change it up.
Does it include the space where River Country once stood?
Yeah, let's throw that in. Throw in the river country space. Everything that's not uh, anything that's not connected directly to Wilderness Lodge. So anything
Okay.
east of Wilderness Lodge, all the way through Fort Wilderness, and all of the land that would go to Golden Oak, you've got to play with. You want to build a brand new park? I want to hear it. You know, but this is the space we're going to work with. Try to use some of the existing infrastructure. But again, I don't want to put too many parameters on it because that limits our. This is
Okay.
all about our imaginations.
Yeah. All right. That sounds fun. We'll do that.
All right. So today is September 30th. Tomorrow is the 50th anniversary. That's a Friday. October 1st. I'm going to try to have this episode out on October 1st, and we're going to try to keep this weekly schedule going.
I got one thing to
What's that?
pitch. If you go to YouTube, I have a YouTube site on there. It is, of course, it is called Six Miles Tall. My Twitter site, if you've not followed me, follow me at 6 Miles Tall with the number 6. My YouTube site is 6 Miles Tall, where you spell out the 6.
Okay.
So it's SIX Miles Tall. I don't do a lot of videos. I don't post a lot of videos, but what I do is playlists. I have organized several playlists, and what I try to do is create these experiences as if you're going to visit the park. You approach the park, you enter the park, you go from point to point to point to point as if you're walking it.
You've curated and
So
made playlists. Like it's like you make
Yeah.
like Disney video mixtapes. They're fantastic. We'll share some of them on the Disney Space Pod Twitter account.
Yeah, the one I want you to go to,
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, is scoot down to what's called the Magic Kingdom of Today guest experience. Okay, of course I do this for all 4 parks, but I want you to start there. This has, as of today, it has 247 videos in the playlist. That's a lot. So it starts out with like the beginning of the day, and you go through each point. You go through Main Street, Tomorrowland, Adventureland, as if you're experiencing the park. I change this playlist every single day because some new video comes out fresh, some new experience comes out fresh, some new swirl is served in Fantasyland. Whenever something comes out, I add it and place where to go. And this is where you can, if you're sort of trapped in the house on lockdown in another country, you can't get to the Magic Kingdom, you can come to this playlist and you can have a full day at the Magic Kingdom. So give that the Magic Kingdom of Today guest experience at 6 Miles Tall on YouTube.
I'm going to share that right now on our Disney Space Pod Twitter account, and I'll retweet it from my social media. That is at WDW Scope. We used to do Periscope live streaming. Now we do live streaming on Twitter Live, which, and also maybe Instagram. And we'll see what other platforms we become available on. If darn that YouTube, they made it so you have to already have 1,000 subscribers to do phone live streaming. So I've got a sort of a putting the cart before the wagon or the horse. I gotta edit. I'm gonna go and edit some of our historical videos and create some fun stuff like that, and also create some new stuff. So. I took some video and film production classes in college, and I'm trying to put some of those skills to work there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully one of your videos will end up curated.
I'd like that. I really would.
Yeah.
And again, thanks for listening to us. Again, we'll be I said live. No, we'll be back next week from Fort Wilderness. So put your thinking caps on. Mark, thanks so much. Another great time as always.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, have a good
evening. A great anniversary, 50th anniversary.
Happy 50th. Take care.
Bye-bye.